All right, let's get talking. Jewjitsu, and is J the way to say? Right now, we're looking at someone who is from, we're supposed to represent someone from a Turkic speaking background, someone from Central Asia. The original Turkic people had East Asian ancestry and looked like other East Asian people. However, as they moved towards Europe and Western Eurasia, they intermarried with people who had a different phenotype, a West Eurasian, or as some would say, Caucasoid phenotype. And as a result, they came to have a different appearance, or really they guess Turkified, to coin a term, the Caucasoid people who were already in Western Eurasia. So there was a language shift from especially certain Indo-European languages to the Turkic language or Turkish or whatever you want to call it. So that is why they came to have a different appearance. Now the Khazars are supposed to have spoken a Turkic language. However, the people of the Northern Caucasus are not uh, Eastern Asian in appearance. This is the Northern Caucasus here. Okay, so there is controversy on the origins, which amongst some people, on the origins of Jews, especially Ashkenazi Jews, because the Khazars converted to um, Judaism. So there are some who argue that the Ashkenazi, who are the largest, I think they're the largest uh, Jewish or Jewish Judaic Judaism practicing group on the planet right now. There are those who argue that they are converts from this area and that therefore they are not the ones who Yahweh promised the Levant to. So the Khazars, if they have any descendants, they would have descendants in Russia and North Ossetia and in Dagestan, I would imagine, based upon maybe also in this area, but all throughout the Northern Caucasus. Going back here, this is what we would expect. Maybe some in Hungary, but this is what we would expect. Now there was I'm not saying a lot of controversy. I guess it was a lot of controversy with these studies, but there was a controversial study. I believe it was done by someone who is Israeli himself, who showed that Jews or the Ashkenazim were related to people of the Caucasus Mountains. He supposedly proved the Khazar hypothesis. However, his study was criticized because of who he used as a proxy for Khazar ancestry. Okay, now this is a study and it's dealing with the haplogroups, paternal lineages, that is, that are found amongst people from the Dagestan region. So this is the Southern Caucasus. The key role of patrilineal inheritance in shaping the genetic variation of Dagestan Highlanders. Okay, so show you the haplogroups. Okay, so it says 10 paternal lineages were observed. So there is the M35 or E1B1B1. There's E1B1B1A, M78. Both of these E types are found in Africa, like northeastern Africa, eastern and northeastern Africa, and across northern Africa. G itself is characteristic of the Caucasus. It's concentrated in the Caucasus mountain area, so that would be considered like more so indigenous. I M170 I is associated with Europe, so that would well, you don't know, I'm telling you that. So I is associated with Europe. All of the J's are associated primarily with east with the Middle East or Western Asia. L is associated with Southern Asia, like going towards India. R is associated with Northern and Eastern Europe, but there also is R going into Central Africa. But R1A1A would be more so Eastern Europe, so we would expect to see Russians with that. R1B1 R1B1 is found in Western Europe, but also in Europe. And again, there's R1. There are R1B1 divisions, or as they call them, clades or clades, which are found in. They reach into Central Africa. Okay, so it says the most widespread haplogroup in the sample, the most widespread haplogroup in the sample is haplogroup J1. Now, this J haplogroup is used or has been adopted as a marker for uh, proof of the Jews being indigenous to Western Asia or the Middle East. But we see it here being quite high in the Northern Caucasus. So we can close this out. Okay, so these are Turkish migrations we see here across Central Eurasia. And one thing that happens is that the Y chromosome and also mitochondria are passed down largely intact from one generation after another, even as people marry with people from different so called races. So even though the people may have looked more East Asian as they married and had children with Western Eurasian women, the Eastern Asian Y chromosomes and Central Eurasian Y chromosomes would still have passed down, even as their children took on a more Western appearance. So we would expect for the Khazars to have passed down some of those Central Asian, East Asian Y chromosomes to their offspring. However, uh, Y chromosomes from that area, which include D, O, C, and Q, are not common in amongst Jewish populations. The two most common haplogroups for Jewish males are haplogroup J and haplogroup E. This is just a picture to show you a visual. Another page. See if I can find this image. So the Khazars probably would have looked more like this if they were indeed a Turkish people, or originally from farther east, as Turkic people originally were from further east. Now, here is someone, say Dagestan, Dagestan, man, image. Okay, so this is someone from the Northern Caucasus. Someone else from the Northern Caucasus. This is what they actually look like. Now, amongst the non Jewish people, that it turned out that Jews were closely related to are the Kurds. They also are related to Armenians. As well as, see, well, who else are they related to? Oh yes, of course, Arabs. Now, what you will notice is that most of these, well, so far, most of the people I'm showing you have a relatively light skin tone. However, if you go into take me a while to find a picture. Socotra, you find that skin tone gets darker, although it's not a example here. Although it's not exactly uniform, so we see they can get quite dark. Or here, or here, to show you where the cultural map. Okay, so here's where Socotra is located. right there. And then we have Somalis However, Somalis have more haplogroup E than haplogroup J. What's that? Somali. Okay, so most Somalis have haplogroup E. They have E1B1B as their primary paternal haplogroup, although there are some with J. They and most other Cushitic people, Cushitic males, have haplogroup E, whereas the Tigray have more relative, this is relative, we're speaking relative, have more haplogroup J. As do the Amhara. Now the Amhara and the Tigray both speak a Semitic language, whereas the Amhara and the Tigray speak a Semitic language. And then we have Omatic people Omatic speakers who have less West Eurasian ancestry than either Cushitic people or Semitic people who outside of Africa are almost majority of their ancestry is Western Eurasian, except for the carryover of some African of the African. Some argue against it being African, but our African haplogroup E. But Omatic people they have uh, haplogroup E more than J, although they do also have haplogroup J, and you can't tell by looking at a person what their haplogroup will be. But they have, closing this out, E, E1, B1, let's see, E1, B1A, also known as EV38. So it says the EM329 subclade is today almost exclusively found in Ethiopia. E-M2 is the predominant subclade in Western Africa, Central Africa, Southern Africa, and the region of African Great Lakes, and occurs at only moderate frequencies in some parts of North Africa, West Asia, and Southern Europe. So this haplogroup here is the one is the one that most African American males have. Most, not all. I, for one, am excluded, but let me see, click on here. So this one is called E1. Let's go back. Okay, so this one is called E1B1A2. And as the area that it is located in, they say it was found in the 45-year-old Ethiopian fossil called Mota. It says this haplogroup is frequent in southwestern Ethiopia, especially among Omotic-speaking populations. So I showed you what Omotic people look like. We can see that they have broader features than many of the Cushitic people. Now, we also have Nilotic Ethiopians. Of course, they don't all do the lip plate thing. They seem to be wanting to show more females than males. But here, Ormo Valley, I don't know where they get the bullets for their guns from, not for, from. but these are the divisions we would see more so in Eastern Africa. This is based upon the costume. This is probably accurate.